Hey folks, what's up? Aaron here, Question Period Canada. It was a wild week in Parliament. We have learned that Greg Fergus, the new Speaker of the House, has completely lost control of the Liberals. We knew he was having trouble with the Conservatives. That's not a surprise, they're a wild bunch, but Poilievre put him in his place, remember? Here, we'll take a peek.
Mr. Speaker, if I may, this is the first time in all of my years here that I have seen a speaker interrupt question period to make a speech. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. You've risen to your feet in order to impose apparently a series of guidelines in violation of one of the existing rules that is already in place, suggests a very serious and unusual departure from the normal way in which Parliament exists. The government is here to serve Parliament, not the other way around. We ask that you allow us to proceed with question period and you make your statement afterwards.
So Greg Fergus didn't listen, went on, gave his boring speech about etiquette. Anyhow, everybody's out of control now. He can't contain the Liberals at all. This nut MP, Yvonne Baker from Ontario, flips out in Parliament the other day, goes completely in the other direction, which sets off Mary Ng, the trade minister, after that. Greg can't reel them in, not at all, and he thought the Conservatives were going to be the problem. The Liberals are breaking the rules.
Mr. Speaker, it is clear that the Conservative Party under this leader does not support Ukraine. This leader has not advocated for more military, financial, or humanitarian support for Ukraine. He's not called out Russia's acts of genocide, and this week, that leader and every MP in his caucus voted against the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement. The Conservatives are trying to blame their decision on a mention of carbon.
I'm going to ask the honourable member if he could quickly...
Right now, Yvonne Baker's supposed to be asking a minister from his own cabinet a question, but he's just trying to trounce the Conservatives. Fergus interrupts to let him know, like, to ask a question to the minister of your cabinet, but let's see what happens. Let's see where it goes.
In the 12 seconds that... Order.
That's the first time I've heard him raise his voice.
About 12 seconds left on the clock. I'm hoping the member
And it
will
was
get
at
to
the
the issue
Liberals.
of business of the government.
Conservative members are trying to blame their vote against the agreement by trying to blame it on language about carbon pricing, which is a red herring because Ukraine's had carbon pricing since 2011 and they need it to get into the EU. Could the Minister of International Trade share with Canadians why this agreement is so important to Canada?
What a confusing moment. Was there a question even asked? Because he did ask a question to the trade minister after Greg Fergus hit the button, cut him off. It's interesting to watch what happens next. It's just out of hand. Greg Fergus has no control. So that nut Baker did slip out a question at the end, so Mary Ng is standing up, ready to answer, but Perkins doesn't think officially a question has been asked, so he's ready to ask his question. That should be the flow. What is Greg going to do?
Once again,
who knows?
Members know that the speakership had issued a ruling in terms of having questions which are relevant either to the business of the government or to business of committees that could be posed to committee chairs or to members of the Board of Internal Economy.
So the question should go to Perkins. I think he should be the next person up. It's just going to be a waste of time, but let's listen, see what they say.
To allow 1,600 taxpayer-funded foreign replacement workers come to Canada and work in the new battery plants in Windsor. The $15 billion taxpayer subsidy means that each family in Canada is paying $1,000 to subsidize these foreign replacement workers. After 8 years, this Prime Minister's not worth the cost.
You can hear the rowdy in the background.
Release the contract to prove taxpayer-funded foreign replacement workers are banned.
Mary Ng is a witch. She has a huge surprise. Which
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the question.
She's trying to answer the question that Yvonne Baker asked.
I was proud to join with him to vote in favor of the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement. President Zelensky wanted this agreement. This is an important agreement.
These Liberals are out of control. Mary Ng knew she was breaking the rules, doing what she was doing, answering the question that Yvonne Baker asked earlier when she was asked a question She wasn't asked, but a question was posed by Perkins. It's interesting that Greg has no control over the Liberals. He's a Liberal. You'd think they'd listen or at least respect his authority, but nope. It gets more interesting. I almost feel bad for Greg Fergus here because you can tell he does feel disrespected. You can see it in his body language, in his face. What's he going to do?
The question was posed by the member from South Shore St. Margaret's. I'm certain the Honourable Minister is going to get to the point to respond to the question at hand. The Honourable Member has 18 seconds left on the clock.
I'm proud on this side of the House that we voted in favor of the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement. Canadian businesses have asked for it. They want to be a part of rebuilding Ukraine. On this side of the House, we are supporting Ukraine, and I'm disappointed,
How about Mary Ng, eh? She's quite a witch. That's a lot of disrespect to put on the House Speaker. I don't even think the Conservatives would do something like that. Let's see where it goes. Let's see how Greg does. I'm starting to feel bad for him, really.
Order!
He sounds really pissed off.
The Honourable Minister, it is impossible, as I'm having members raise their voices directly into the speakers here, to hear the response to judge whether or not the response is doing with the issue of questions. So I'm going to ask the Honourable Member...
So it's that bad he's got to cover up for the Liberals. He's saying now that he can't hear what she's saying to correct her because the Conservatives are being too loud. That's the way he's twisting it. This is messed up. We'll continue to watch.
Honourable Minister, again, 15 seconds on the clock. I'm going to ask Honourable Members to listen closely to the answer to the question that was posed by the member from South Shore, St. Margaret's. The Honourable Minister.
So Mr. Speaker instructed Ng just to answer Perkins' question. It was pretty direct.
Speaker, on this side of the House, we're supporting Ukraine. Canadian businesses have asked for this agreement because they want to be a part of rebuilding Ukraine. I'm disappointed, but I am not surprised that the Conservatives have decided to abandon Ukraine. You know, Mr. Speaker, when someone shows you who they...
Mary Ng is a special kind of witch, there's no doubt. I can't imagine her disrespecting a fellow caucus member like that. It's just hard to imagine. What is Greg gonna do? Let's check it out. So he just turns the other cheek, I guess. Perkins is going to ask the same question again because he didn't get an answer the first time. Watch who answers the question and how he does it at the end, though. We'll jump to that.
Foreign replacement workers to
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, it's obvious for Canadians watching at home how much the Conservatives don't want to talk about Ukraine, Mr. Speaker. But one thing I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, it is amazing to see to which extent the Conservatives would go to spread misinformation, Mr. Speaker. But you know what? Sometimes you get caught, Mr. Speaker.
So that's the second time that Perkins' question isn't being touched at all. He's asking about a plant in Windsor in South Korea. What does that have to do with that other part of the world? So the Liberals are out of control. Greg Fergus has no control in the House. It's a tough time. I was starting to feel bad for Greg there, a little bit. I'm over it. These Liberals are out of control. Mary Ng is top of the list. She doesn't listen to her own caucus. Mr. Speaker should have some more control than he does. No one listens. I started to feel bad, but now I don't because he just passes the buck back to the Conservatives. I don't get that. My name's Aaron. Like and subscribe. We're having fun with Canadian politics right here. Thanks for watching. We'll check you next video. I do like to put a funny clip at the end of all of my videos. This is Adam Vanderkoven putting both feet in his mouth at once. Check it out.
Who knows a thing or two about farming and climate change? That's the farmers who work in the breadbasket of the world, Ukrainian farmers. And you know who asks Canadian parliamentarians to vote for the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement? Ukrainian farmers. So did the Ukrainian-Canada Congress. So did President Zelensky himself. Ukrainian farmers are betrayed by this federal government. That's the people who grow.
According to Brock, the Liberals are doing nothing. He's going to do something. Larry Brock, entertaining.
Brantford Brant.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, it's time for this NDP Liberal government to end the cover-ups and come clean with Canadians about the Arrive Camp scandal. 2 senior bureaucrats were caught lying to committee about their role in hiring a 2-person basement company for the $54 million Arrive scam. With cozy relationships with this government, GC Strategies was hired over Deloitte, Microsoft, and Apple. Outrageous. Which Liberal minister hired the company and paid them 11 million taxpayer dollars for doing absolutely nothing?
Larry Brock was a big-time prosecutor back in the day. He's not much for scams. Like and subscribe. Canadian Politics, right here.